Hey everybody, welcome to the Android Central Podcast. It's episode number 116 for Thursday, November 15th, 2012. Welcome back. I'm Phil Nickinson, your host of the show, editor of Android Central, and occasionally an all-around good guy. We'll see about it this week. It's been a long week. It's been a weird week. I don't know about you guys, but it's been a stressful week. It's so bizarre. Should we just jump into it? Jerry Hildenbrand from the site, Alex Doby, Corey Streeter. You guys know everybody. Everybody say hi.
Hey,
Hi.
Now, see, how come
Hey,
you can say
everybody.
hi now, but at the end of the show, I can never get anybody to say bye? You're all just kind of like sitting around. Like that.
Well-
Exactly.
Because you've beaten us for an hour nonstop.
Stop. All right, fine. If it's your first time here, welcome. Glad to have you. We do this live most Thursday nights and talk Android and occasionally other things. So we got a ton of stuff to talk about this week. Where do you guys want to start? You want to start with the good or the bad? Yes.
I'm looking for the good.
The bad.
All right, let's start with
Let's
the bad.
save the good.
Let's get
Yeah.
the bad out of the way. Well, let's do it chronologically. How about that? So Monday. Anything happened Monday? We lose somebody already?
No, I think we're good. We just lost video on me. I had to reconnect.
Okay. Well, welcome back. Did anything happen Monday? I'm trying to remember. I was on a plane all day. Nothing.
It's a good question,
I think so.
actually.
I think Monday was
I've
kind
done-
of quiet.
I don't think Monday existed. It was the day before.
Kinda, yeah. So
last
Tuesday
day.
was twofold. Tuesday was twofold, right? We had the Droid DNA launch in New York City, and I went up for that. And then we had the Nexus availability, sort of. So, and let's talk Nexus for a little while. So Alex, being 5-6 hours ahead of the rest of us, you were actually able to order one or no, or what happened?
I was, but through nothing more than sheer luck, basically. The way it works in the UK was the way it works in all territories where you wanted to order it, you could get on there. You just had to keep trying to get the order through. You had all kinds of problems with Google Play, all kinds of timeouts, your basket being emptied, that kind of stuff. Eventually, I managed to place an order after about 30 minutes of trying for an 8 gig model, which I have right here, which hasn't been cancelled. It's actually shipped to me. And again, that's mostly down to luck because, again, today we've had all these problems with people's orders being delayed 3 weeks. So I have one through, good fortune, I guess. But that's more than most people can say, and it's unfortunate because it's a great phone at a great price.
So I was just looking just now because I've been looking like every 10 minutes. So the Nexus 4, the phone is sold out, both versions, right? 8 gigabytes, 16, and it sounds like people were able to get the 8 ordered easier than the 16.
The 16 sold out in about 5 minutes over here.
Yeah.
I get the impression they really didn't have many of those at all.
Nexus 10 is sold out. Nexus, and I'm looking at the US store. The Nexus 7, you can get 16 gigabyte Wi-Fi, 32 gigabyte Wi-Fi, yes, and 32 gigabyte with HSPA Plus on AT&T is sold out. And is the availability what's bothering me?
It's not so much the availability; it's the fact that it was Google didn't have the capacity there to take all the orders as on a first come first served basis, which is the way this sort of thing should work. It's the fact that if you wanted to buy this, from the moment they went live, you couldn't just place an order. You had all these problems with Google Wallet, I think, not being able to take payments and delaying things, and server errors and all that kind of stuff.
Damn it, this is Google, right?
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, if anyone should be able to keep a website up, it's Google, and yet we've had all these problems.
Well, I mean, the minute Google Wallet screwed up and lost track of who had what in their cart and kept timing out and everything else, there's no way it was ever going to get fixed. It was from that first time that happened, it was hit or miss.
Because the problem is, Jerry, that happened in Australia, that happened in Europe, and they didn't fix it in any of the territories. It was staggered. It went live in Australia first, then it was Europe, then it was North America, and they had problems in Australia. They didn't fix it. 12 hours later, problems in Europe. Another 12 hours later, problems in America. So
I don't think they could have fixed them between them. It's just, should they have known ahead of time what was going to happen? I think that's the real issue to have with Google is they should have known ahead of time that even with the high demand that wasn't really high. I mean, I'm not thinking they sold millions of Nexus 4s, but it was high enough in the way it happened all at once. Their infrastructure couldn't handle it. And you got to wonder,
Yeah,
should they have
yeah.
known ahead of time?
And the other
How could
question
they
is how
not?
much stock was actually there, because that's
Yep.
the other problem. Did they have enough on the Play Store? Was there some agreement with carriers as to how much they would be able to stock SIM-free, because it is a very low price.
Yeah,
I've gone
because
on
we'd have been
record-
just as mad if the ordering process went smoothly, but it sold out in 5 minutes anyway.
Sure.
I
Corey,
don't
did
think
you
so.
try
I think
it all?
there's a
know
certain amount of
I've
there's
gone
a
on
certain amount of
record, it's kind
unfairness to the fact that it was just random as to who got one and who didn't. The people who ordered before me that had their order accepted that don't have it, and yet I do. So
right.
there's that as well.
Corey, did you try getting one? I know I've gone on record as having said I'm buying you one, but did you try anyway?
I went to bed early that night. I'm just waiting for you to send me one. I was like, I
I know.
don't need to worry about it.
I mean,
I
can't
tried.
order one either. So I was at the Droid Dna event in New York, and like we actually finished pretty quick. So Andrew Vaca was there with me, and we tag teamed this thing, and we busted it out. And I'm sitting there like everybody else is working, and I'm sitting there trying to order these damn things. And it's like, all right, I got Vincent from Slash Gear and Seth from 9 to 5 Google are sitting in front of me, and I'm like, we're all like almost live blogging because we just done a live blog, everybody, and we're all almost like just narrating our process. It's like, all right, I got it in my cart. Ah, damn, it disappeared. Where the hell did it go? All right, I got another one in my cart. 16 gigabyte, 8 gigabyte, and nothing went through. It was insane. And it's like the three of us are sitting there holding Nexus 4s. It's like we can't even order them. It's so frustrating. So what about you guys in the chat room? Anybody in the chat room actually able to get this to work? Because I want to hear what people think about this phone. I'm so tired of hearing myself talk about it. Pretty soon I'll be tired of hearing Alex talk about it too.
Yeah, I can talk about it in a bit, I guess. But there's a whole lot of no's coming up in the chat room. I really very few people that I know. I think Richard Devine managed to order one. Jerry, I think yours is due for delivery tomorrow. But even among the people that did manage to get orders through, there were still issues with people who had 2 orders outstanding, and so they weren't processed properly. So, someone got 2 in the chat. So there you go.
Oh wow.
You guys know how I mean I get accused of giving manufacturers and companies a pass on a lot of stuff, right? But I'm really feeling like Google almost owes somebody an explanation for this. I mean,
I think there needs to be a statement, doesn't there? There needs to be something to say. Okay, not just
First,
okay, you're going to get it in 3 weeks, but here's what happened. Here's why there wasn't enough stock. Here's why Google Wallet didn't cope. Because they built up a lot of hype around this thing. They have people who have been charged who are now going to have to wait 3 weeks to get this device. So, yeah.
I think Vic Condotra should just come out and say, "You all told us for 2 weeks nobody was going to buy these damn things. No SD card, 16 gigabytes. We only bought 50 of them." Throw the mic down and walk away.
No. This isn't the first device, though. They've all kind of sold out pretty quickly. The Nexus 7 did as well.
Well, not really. Never on this level. The Nexus 7 was a big seller, but that was days and not minutes like this was. What it actually reminds me of is the Google I/O tickets this year. It was the same kind of randomness, the same kind of quick sellout. And I think it was...
oranges, especially Google I/O last year was just a shambles. This year, I don't know, at least the press side of things went easier, but it still sold out really quickly for general attendees, right? Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a better way to do it. I mean, this is Google. This is the company that we're trusting first and foremost for search results, right? I mean, that's what they do. It's important for those of us who make our living online. It's our livelihood. We'll trust them, now with our social stuff, with our pictures, with our posts, with our email, and to do something that seems so basic as to just be able to sell somebody else something. And I say that I'm not the guy who has to code this stuff and keep it all running, and I get that. And I understand that it's not easy. I know the people who do our, e-commerce side of things for the retail side of mobile applications and smartphone experts. It's not easy, right? It takes a lot of code and a lot of really smart people. But this is Google. I mean, they're supposed to be the best of the best, and maybe that's why I feel like, I hate to say we're owed an explanation, but I kind of feel like Google should, like Alex said Google
Well,
needs to say something.
The people who have been charged $300 and don't have a phone deserve an explanation.
Yeah.
I don't. People who haven't been able to make an order don't necessarily, I guess. But I mean, it still sucks for them. They haven't been able to place an order with Google.
Well,
but
are people saying they've been charged but no device has been shipped?
yes,
Because
people have been
that's
charged. People have been charged and are now saying that they've been told it's going to take 3 weeks to arrive.
I
They've been given the option. They've been given the
Stick
option, I think,
Google
to cancel, and I assume it'd be refunded
Yep.
if they do cancel. But still,
because I mean, if it's pre-authorized or something, I can see that. But Google said that they will not charge you until they ship it. And if they go back on that, that's pretty.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is just a pre-authorization. We'll have to see.
Well, Alex, now that you have it, give me like your 5-minute spiel. What do you think?
I like it. It's. I think the biggest thing for me is build quality and speed. All the concerns I think leading into this about an LG phone having dodgy build quality is, I think, completely unfounded. The glass on the front and back feels really nice in the hand. You've got this grippy soft touch area around there, and then this sort of reflective area in the front, which gives it a very kind of highlights the screen. The screen itself is really, really gorgeous. I think probably 1X level. I would have no problem saying that. I think people have said it's maybe a little bit more washed out than the 1X. Don't know if I agree with that. Maybe just because stock Android is a little bit more muted with its colors than Sense is. But it's a big step forward in terms of screen quality and performance from the Gene X. And going from last year's Nexus to this year's, a lot of people have been calling this Nexus sort of a minor bump up from the last one. And even though it looks more or less the same, the performance is a big improvement on the last year's. So I think that the fact that you can get this quality of smartphone for this price is really nothing short of amazing, and that's probably why they've sold out so quickly.
What do you think about 4.2 over and we'll transition this into the Galaxy Nexus getting it, but is it a huge leap for you?
It's difficult to say. Having used this briefly on the Galaxy Nexus and then on the Nexus 4, I think not really. I mean, it's a maintenance release, is what they called it before they put out the 4.2 number. I think, like I said before, I had an editorial on this. If you're using a skinned phone, then the upgrade from 4.1 to 4.2 isn't going to be a huge deal. I think that most of the difference in this phone is just hardware based. There are a few things like, I mean, the camera is really cool. Photosphere is really cool. But what makes this phone different from the Galaxy Nexus isn't the new software; it's the new hardware.
Right.
Agreed.
Glass back.
Yeah, it's a glass back. It feels better in the hand than plastic. It feels like more of a premium device than the Galaxy Nexus did. We'll see if it breaks. Mine's a day old. Obviously, it hasn't broken. But my thinking is that any device that I take with me everywhere is eventually going to pick up some knocks, and I'm fine with that.
Is it a fingerprint magnet?
Surprisingly not. The screen, I don't know if it has that, is it called oleophobic coating?
Yep.
But it's nowhere near as much of a fingerprint magnet as, say, the Galaxy Nexus is. I assume it has some kind of funky coating on it. The front and back, it'll pick up fingerprints, but it's not as noticeable as a lot of other phones. So that's not an issue for me, really.
Hold it up.
Anything in our review you think I just kind of blew? Like you see a complete opposite of anything I found. And I'm just curious. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think back. I mean, that's a lot of review to remember, but nothing that I'd massively disagree with. I think the
camera
the
hold
thing
up
that
for you so far? Or?
I think so. It's not. It's. I posted a few pictures on Google Plus today and some Photosphere stuff. There's some parts of the camera that have really impressed me in the software, like HDR support. The fact that little gesture stuff. The fact that you can swipe up and just get into HDR mode or switch out of that. That's really neat. Overall image quality, not quite Galaxy S3 level. I think in a lot of ways it actually surpasses the 1X. Video is better, I think, than on the 1X. On the whole, the camera is decent. It's not the highest end, but you would never really expect that from a Nexus.
Why not?
Well, because it's $300 and they have the fastest CPU and the best screen. Something's got to give.
A lot of it's, and a lot of that is software.
Yeah. I'm perfectly happy with the camera on this. I think if we were to go to an event, I'd be perfectly happy taking general event pictures with this thing. Fine detail is a little bit down on what you would get with a Galaxy S3 or a 1X. Macro performance, not quite up there either, but it's still a decent camera, probably somewhere between the Galaxy S2 and the Galaxy S3.
Tell me all about battery life since you've had it for 12 hours.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I mean, chat rooms, talk about battery. I'm still doing all right with the battery.
Phil's probably in a better position to talk about battery than I am.
Look, on Wi-Fi, this thing goes all day, no problem.
But battery life sucks. I read it on the internet.
Yeah. Monday was my first travel day with it, and it held up surprisingly well. I got all the way to New York, and I think had 50% left. And for me, that's actually really good. Now, a lot of that's going to be because it's not on LTE, right? The Galaxy Nexus and 1X, I've been able to fairly well drain by the time I get up there. And a lot of that's just because you're bouncing in between, airplanes and stuff like that, and it's tough on radios anyway. But I was perfectly happy to get up there. That said, I think I only took HCC charging things with me, and those were a little slow to charge it. But no, I didn't have any huge problems. You know what I really want to see now? We might need to come back to this in like 2-3 months, 6 months maybe, but wireless charging. We have this, we have the DNA. All the new Windows Phone stuff has wireless charging. And at some point, if you follow The Verge's Chris Ziegler on Twitter, you'd see him complaining about wireless charging standards today too. Like, there's just so much stuff going on with it, and it doesn't all work together, and it's just kind of a mess. I really, really want to see it work, but not yet.
Yeah, I mean, Google's obviously putting its weight behind this. Is it called Qi, the standard?
Right.
So hopefully we'll see that taking off. I think the 8X on Verizon is the same. Maybe wrong about that, but I think that it's kind of sort of crystallizing around that now. So hopefully we'll have a victor in that in the next year or so. People in the chat are asking.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go on. I was just going to mention briefly, people in the chat are asking about data speeds. Actually, this is one area where this phone is really, really good. And actually, I was talking to someone from one of our carriers over here a few weeks back who had it. He was saying that it was one of the best performing 42 megabit phones that they'd used. And that's pretty much measures up to what I've experienced with it today. It's averaging about 15 down and 3 up on 3 in the UK. And Wi-Fi speeds have been pretty good as well, 40 down and 20 up, and 20 was limited on my side. So data speed's really, really good on this thing.
You want to hear something really ironic? So all this talk about LTE and how it doesn't have LTE. So last night, I find out they're starting to test LTE here in Pensacola on AT&T. So I've decided I'm going to start complaining about this thing not having AT&T or not having LTE now. Is that okay? Can I do that?
Please do, actually.
That's all right.
Am I allowed to do that now?
Yes.
We'll listen to you as much as we listen to anybody else.
Oh.
It is the way it is. Yeah, I still like this phone a lot. I tell you, I've got it in one hand. I've got the DNA in the other hand. These are two really nice phones. Everyone keeps asking, one or the other. Pick for me. And I'm like, I'm not gonna pick for you. I can't pick for you. We started doing this little "Should I Upgrade" series last week, and we only did a few phones, and it kind of for good reason. I said it before, and I'd say it again. Alex, do you think you would upgrade from the Galaxy S3 to the Nexus 4?
Absolutely, in a heartbeat.
Really?
Yeah, because and part of that is down to data. Data in this country, there's LTE is only on one carrier. It's ridiculously expensive. It's only in a few cities. It's not a big deal yet in this country. So if you look at the Galaxy S3 on 3G, compare it to this on 3G on HSPA, the Galaxy S3 we have over here actually doesn't do 42 megabits. It does 21. So it's slower than the Nexus 4. You've got an older version of Android. You've got a poorer screen. So on specs, this actually beats it it has the same size battery. Okay, it's not got removable storage, but I think overall this comes out as the winner if you're in the UK.
Okay. I just don't know that I do it. I think I'm okay. I mean, I like
Really?
it better. I think I
Why
like
is
the
that?
design better.
Is it just data? That you really?
No, just
The design?
I like the design of the Nexus 4 better. I'm trying to think. I completely
So
understand.
you
I'm in
like
this weird
everything
position.
about the Nexus 4 better, but you wouldn't do it. Is that what you're telling us?
I'm trying to figure out how to say this without sounding like a bigger tool than I normally am. I mean, look, these things cost people money, and I get that. And I just
Right.
don't know that even for all the things that I like, I just don't know that it's enough to say, yes, you could spend another, $400 or $500 on this. Now, if you can sell it and get a bunch of money back, by all means. And, Mickey's talked about that numerous times on here, right? If you go into it understanding that you're going to, be losing a little bit of money, but getting a lot of it back, then by all means, I think I would. And the LTE thing is a big decision, right? Either you can live without it or you can't, and I get that.
Right.
But especially because I'm using CM10 on the GS3, and I like it a lot. And it's very much the same experience, if not a little better. So I'd have a really hard time with that one. The One X, I don't know. That's a different story. It's a very different feel, and I've still got Sense on my One X.
Have you got Jelly Bean yet on that thing?
No, not on AT&T, which should be any time now, I guess.
Yeah, it should be soon.
Because the XL has it, I think.
Yes. So I don't know. I mean, it should be anytime soon. And actually, the One X Plus and the One VX go on sale on AT&T tomorrow, so Friday. You'll be able to get that. And man, I said it a month ago. I'm say it again. We have so many good phones out there right now.
Yeah,
it's a little.
There's a lot of good choices. The One X has a beautiful screen too, so
it really does. And we'll talk about the DNA in a second. But yeah, it's awesome. I do want to talk about Android 4.2 on the Galaxy Nexus because that is sort of pushed out. I finally flashed it onto mine today because I got tired of waiting. Corey, have you gotten to play with that yet?
No.
Oh.
No. Wait, I'm sorry. So on the Nexus 7?
No. We're on the Nexus 7.
Oh. Nope.
Have you played with Android 4.2, Corey?
Yes, on my Nexus 7.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something else. It's cool. I like it. I like that pull down, the little notifications pull down and all the settings you can do.
Is it just me, though? Or I kind of keep... I got back from a dinner at the bar Monday night, and we had the new update for 4.2 that enabled the lock screen widgets. I kind of keep waking up now, and I'm like waiting for Google to say, all right, that's it. We're going to put back the old one now. Just kidding. I'm not a fan.
It makes more sense on a tablet than a phone, I think. And there's also the problem with the Galaxy Nexus where it doesn't perform quite as well as it does on the Nexus 4. I think the biggest problem for me is where you're supposed to drag down on the date and time to bring it out to a full-sized widget, but when you do, you lose the ability to unlock, and you've still got the icon down there, but it looks the same, but it's in a different place. But you can't use it to drag to unlock. And it just seems a little bit convoluted and a little bit poorly designed for something that's in stock Android.
It really does. And I hate to say that because Ice Cream Sandwich I've really enjoyed, Jelly Bean I've really enjoyed, and I think it's very well designed. But yeah, it's just, something's not right.
I bought that $1.15 clock widget thing and just deleted that ugly, horrible, too tight font. Matias Duarte must have been high when he made it. Widget.
that font is so bad. And
that's the other thing. I kind of take issue with that new clock app, really? Because it looks like something that you would find in the market that would be someone's first attempt at some kind of janky little app. It looks nothing like the rest of stock Android, and
it's completely customizable.
It is, but it looks nothing like. It doesn't fit in with the rest of the OS. It looks weird compared to it looks like something that's just been put on top of that. I don't know. It's maybe that's the way they're going to take down.
You hate my widget.
I just think it looks a bit out of place.
I'm going to have fun this week.
But they added a bunch of stuff
trying
to
to think
it
what else.
too,
Jerry,
right?
you got to play with the multiple user accounts on the
Yes. Neat idea. A lot of drawbacks
tablet?
that I can't see any way to fix. We just didn't think of the drawbacks when we got excited for it. Google's going to have to come up with a way to share paid apps. That way, the apps that I have bought, my wife can use if she has her own login. It's really going to screw with Samsung and Asus on the tablets because they support SD cards, and the new way things get moved around when you add a user, that's not going to work at all. There's just no way any of that's going to work. That's all going to need fixed. And everything and all the root apps are broken.
Right.
So these are things I understand why they're happening, and I kind of understand how they're happening. It just we didn't think of these drawbacks before we were all gung-ho waiting for it. But besides that, and the only real issue is the paid app thing. Most people don't root. It's neat. It works really well. It's easy to do. It's easy to put on there, easy to take off. And it's nice for me to, let my daughter look at the tablet and play Angry Birds or something and not have to worry about whatever I'm working on for Android After Dark and saying, "Dad, you're nasty."
Really?
Well, sometimes you know how that goes.
All right, you want to talk Droid DNA for a minute?
Sure.
Yeah. I'd like one in my hands.
Here it is.
Catch. He'll just drop it.
It's a ridiculous 5-inch display at 1080p. It's nuts. It's so nice. So here's the thing. Aside from, I don't want to. I'm trying not to downplay this. So it's got a 5-inch display, right? And if you can see it side by side here with the 1X, it's a little bit taller. It's maybe a quarter of an inch taller. I'm still looking at this thing, trying to decide how much of a difference the extra pixels make on a 1080p wide. So you're going from 720 pixels in the short end of the 1X to 1080. And that's a big deal, and it's a lot more pixels, but I just don't know that I can tell. I really don't know that I can tell the difference. I was having breakfast with people on Tuesday when we were first looking at this phone, and we're all trying to figure out if we can tell the difference. And I think I can. I'm just not sure it matters at that point. Even at 5 inches, the extra real estate you get is in height, not in width. So the phone's not really that much bigger. It's just a tiny bit taller. So I just don't know that it makes that much of a difference.
How are you finding the brightness and sort of the colors and all the other aspects of the screen that aren't just to do with pixels? Because I think some of the sites did some comparisons this week with a lot of other phones like the 1X, the Nexus 4, the iPhone, and the verdict seemed to be that it was a very high pixel density, but you lost out in terms of brightness and in terms of color quality. You noticed anything like that?
It's almost like it has the same sort. Well, no, that looks the same to me. I don't think so. I don't know. I really need to do more with that. So today I spent a good part of the day watching the Hunger Games twice to see how, because that's the other big question about this phone is battery life, right? It's got a 2020 milliamp hour battery in it, and everyone apparently has already forgotten that post that Alex did that said, "Oh, wait a minute, maybe it's not really, that small a battery given the size." I mean, this is not. I don't have it sitting here. This is not a Galaxy Note size device, right? This still feels like a phone when you hold it. It's just a little bit taller than anything else we have right now. So it's, I hate to use the word phablet, but it's not a phablet.
Yeah.
So it doesn't require that size battery. Now, I mean, yes, I would always prefer to get the largest battery in something you can, and I have a feeling this is the largest battery they could put in this device. There's been a lot of gnashing of teeth in the forums about, well, why didn't they make it thicker? I mean, look, that's always the question. Why you could have just made the phone a millimeter thicker and had a bigger battery. It's not quite that simple. That was actually a really good discussion we had with the designers at LG when I was over there. And first of all, the guy looks at us, and I know we're talking different manufacturers, but a lot of the stuff translates. We said, you could just make it a millimeter thicker and have that much more battery. And he looked at us like we had just like twisted his cat around or something. but then it's a millimeter thicker. He's like, why would you do that? And design really means a lot for these phones, to the fact, to the point where funk can suffer a little bit. And that's not always to say that it's a zero-sum game either. That just because you made it a millimeter thicker, that doesn't just mean you can have bigger battery. That means you have to re-engineer, how the radios work and redesign the PCB, and it affects everything. So it's really just not that simple. Now, I mean, time will tell, and I need a couple more days using this thing to really see if the battery life is going to be acceptable. I have a feeling it's going to be. HTC's done really well with battery life on the 4.7-inch, 1X and XL devices. And I think we're going to be okay here. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. It's not going to be another Thunderbolt, that's for sure, right?
Where's the power button?
Up top.
Yeah. How are you finding that? Because it seems to be in a really strange place. It's in the middle, right at the top, and it's almost the most difficult place to hit it.
Right. No, they did it because of the extra height, and the rationale for that was because you're going to be holding it a little bit different. You're not going to be holding it as low, so your finger is actually going to be able to reach into the middle more, and it actually makes sense once you try it. So, instead of with the 1X, I'm holding it a little bit lower on the phone, and then my finger is on the side, whether I'm using it left-handed or right-handed. That makes sense. With this, you're going to be holding it a little bit higher, so your index finger, which presumably is the one you're using, actually reaches into the center a little bit more. So I totally get that. It makes sense. Is it different? Yeah. It takes a little getting used to, but it's hardly the toughest thing in the world.
Yeah, because with the 1X, I always felt that I would kind of have to shuffle the phone up in my hand to press the power button, and then you'd feel like you're going to drop it. It was kind of a weird motion just to get the power button at the top.
It does take a little getting used to, and part of that's just because it's different, right? The one design thing I really take issue with is the door on the micro USB port at the bottom. It's just, it really feels out of place on this phone. It's not that it's bad, it's just different.
Is it one of those rubber doors?
It's not rubber, it's plastic, and it fits on there pretty well. But, I mean, if you're going to be charging your phone very often with USB, it's a pain in the ass to take it off and on. Somebody sent in actually, I want to find that email right now and maybe read it because somebody just asked. John writes, do you think the door over the micro USB port is intended to encourage wireless charging, enabling Verizon to sell more accessories? I don't think so. I think it was an HTC thing. And I just.
Why do you think they did it? Because it is a bit of a strange design decision, isn't it?
It really does.
Just a door over the USB port?
Yeah.
Well, a door over the USB port and then the USB port down below, so you can't just slide it into a dock or something. Normally, when you have one of those weird plasticky door things, it's on the side, isn't it?
It's just.
Oh, I got you.
I'm just not happy with that door at all, and kind of want to break it off right now on camera. I'm not going to. But other than that, I mean, this phone is really nice. So I know I've talked about it before because I'm pretty sure it was the direction it was going. But this is basically the same design that they've done with the Windows Phone 8X. So the battery is actually between the PCB and the circuit board and the display, and that's what lets them get this much thinner profile and the nice sloping edges. It really is nice to hold in the hand. I love the soft touch. People have asked about the battery being not removable, but replaceable or serviceable. I'm going to say no. Just not something you're going to want to try. I mean, start with, you're going to have to figure out how to open this thing up, and I see no easy way to do that. But the other one is that it's sandwiched between the display and the PCB, and that's just not something 99% of the population needs to even attempt to get at. So yeah, I mean, the battery is an interesting concern. Really, my only main concern about this, and even then, I'm not overly worried yet. We'll see. That could change, but so far, I'm not. Software 4.1.1 at 4.2 or something later. But the 4.2 code didn't even drop until what, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah.
It's speaker's loud.
A little crowded. So why not show them on the big screen?
It's got a souped up amplifier in this.
How is it doing
Same
with
as the 8X,
switching
right?
networks?
Yeah, the 8X works really well with that amplifier. Same with the 1X Plus. How are you finding it?
Where are we asking, Corey?
The transition from 3G to 4G to Wi-Fi or whatever, is it picking it up all the time? I'm having a lot of problems with every phone I've ever had on Verizon. So,
I mean, it's certainly not. I haven't noticed that probably in the last year or so. I mean, well, yeah, maybe not that long. Like back when we first got LTE, it was horrible, right? The Thunderbolt. What was the other one? It would drop for like 30 seconds or a minute. It was ridiculous. Now, not nearly as bad. I don't think. Hadn't bothered me. But yeah, the software. I mean, it's got sense. It's same old sense, just better. Very, very fast. Very, very fast. So I like this phone a lot. I think a lot of people are going to be really happy with it. All the gnashing of teeth over battery aside.
Oh, we have to have something to complain about.
Oh, I know. Oh, and
it's something on Verizon.
As I watched that movie twice today, it looked great. Now, actually, Jerry and I have been trying to figure out if we can watch 1080p Google Play in it. I'm having a hard time finding them. So I finally just typed in 1080p and came up with the Hunger Games. But then as we're watching it, I think, Jerry, we finally decided it was playing in 720.
Yeah, it streams to the Nexus Q or the Nexus 10 through HDMI to my television at 1080. But when you pin it to your phone or to the Nexus 10, it downloads at 720.
Okay.
So I don't know what's up there.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I mean, it was actually showing letterboxed anyway, so it's not going to be
right.
I mean,
because of the device size, I'm sure that's part of the equation.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I wondered about my Nexus 10 when it gets here, is how things are even going to look on it. I mean, it's got this amazing screen, but our apps and video and all that's still going to look good on it. Take advantage of it.
Corey, to be fair, you're going to shit yourself with delight if the screen is that good. I promise you.
You know how I am.
Yes, I know how you are, and this tablet was made for you, man.
I haven't noticed a problem, and people have been asking about that as well. Are the apps working the right way with the different resolution? I haven't noticed a problem really yet. I'm sure I could find something, and at some point it would be an issue. But
I'll give you some advice I noticed with the 10.
Yeah.
Download the biggest, most complicated game that you have bought. Take the time, download all the extra crap, the files and everything, then play it and look for spots where you can see, oh, they really had to stretch this background tile. The little bushes in the back behind the zombie car are pixelated. You'll see some of that kind of stuff.
and there's like a Qualcomm, the featured game on here called Reign of Amira that supposedly showcases the processor, and it's fast. It's really, really smooth and nicely done. There are definitely a few preloaded apps on here, and as far as I can tell, there's no real difference. If they have changed something or stretched something, it's not to the point where I've noticed. So, and I'm sure we can find one at some point, but out of the box, not a big deal. So there's that. Look for the review shortly. I can't believe we've actually overshadowed probably the biggest news of the week, also involving HTC, and that was Saturday evening. HTC and Apple settled their patent differences, probably with money, but it's over. They're licensing. HTC has signed a licensing agreement for 10 years, current and future patents.
And that, I think, is a big deal if you look at what they actually get access to there. Yeah, and not just because it means the lawsuits are over, because it means that any kind of Apple patent that currently exists or will exist in the future is something HTC can now use in its Android phones in the next year. Renee's pointing out swipe to unlock, but I think that the bigger thing is going to be things like all these multi-touch patents that everyone else had to work around.
Yeah,
Suddenly HTC gets that that they can just plug into their next Android phone, and that's something that they have because they license it, that everyone else has to work around.
Let me read the let me read the statement real quick. HTC and Apple have reached a global settlement that includes the dismissal of all current lawsuits and a 10-year license agreement. The license extends to current and future patents held by both parties. The terms of the settlement are confidential. HTC is pleased, Apple is pleased, blah, blah, blah. The only other thing I got out of HTC over this was we do not expect this license agreement to have an adverse material impact on the financials of our company. And they told me it does cover Windows Phone as well as Android, which makes sense.
But wasn't Windows Phone already covered by the Microsoft cross-licensing thing?
Probably, but I mean, the ins and outs of all that stuff.
It's double covered now.
Yeah, I guess so.
I just want to know what HTC had that Apple wanted. Because
nothing, which is why
HTC didn't just walk in and say, okay, we'll pay the money that we've been saying we're not going to pay for 2 years because all of a sudden now we're filthy rich.
I think it's to do with the S3 patents, the S3 graphics patents that HTC tried to use against Apple in the US but failed. But I think they could potentially use that in other countries. That now prevents HTC from doing that.
That's exactly what I was going to bring up, or the patents that Google granted to HTC that the judge wouldn't allow them to use.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's both sides are benefiting. I mean, a lot of people are upset HTC caved. No, they didn't cave. Now HTC can sell phones without playing in court.
And they can use all Apple's cool, touch-based stuff and inertial scrolling and all the rest of that stuff in the next gen of Android phones.
Yep.
And it was kind of funny because the people who I deal with daily, talking to them this week, it's like, so what do you guys think? And like, honestly, we're still kind of processing it because it was a total surprise to them, just like it was everybody else. I mean, this is such high-level stuff, and it's done in such secrecy. We may never will know. And God, to have been a fly on that wall.
And then I thought it was kind of interesting. The next day, J.K. Shin stands up and says Samsung's never going to back down. I was like, yeah.
Those two have so much invested in just beating down the other that's never going to happen. It's probably, if anything, that whole Samsung Apple thing eventually will just fizzle out. But it's going to take several years for that to happen.
I just want a Tim Cook, J.K. Shin, Rock'em Sock'em Robot set.
I wish I remember who did the post on it this week, but I thought it was really good. I mean, it's just the point where Samsung's already making so much money off Android anyway, and the lawsuit was just kind of a slap on the wrist at that point. Who cares? Why would they pay up at this point? So I'm glad that's over. I mean, from an academic standpoint, it's interesting, but from my job day in and day out, I hate writing about this stuff. I hate having to deal with it. I want to write about phones. I want to help people figure out what to buy and how to use them. So
you don't love all the drama?
That one's over with. What's that?
You don't love all the drama?
No. I'm not
it's stupid drama. Stupid, boring drama.
I'm not a drama llama. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we do emails and voicemails? We got some good ones. I feel like we've missed something. It's just been all Nexus.
Anything happened today we should talk about real quick?
Actually, I did just think of a couple more things in the DNA that I do want to mention. So, cool notification light on the back. I don't know if you're able to see it on camera, but it's very cool. I like how they did that.
That means I'd have to stick the damn thing in a drawer instead of just flipping it over. Now there's lights on both sides to annoy me.
it's
yeah. I don't know about that.
Unless you're looking at it directly, it's actually pretty subtle. This thing is SIM unlocked out of the box. If you haven't seen our post on that, go watch it. It's so awesome. So I put in.
Well, now your review unit is SIM unlocked out of the box.
Retail will almost certainly be unlocked out of the box, I believe.
Hopefully. Oh, man.
The iPhone is too. Remember that was the big question after the iPhone 5 came out on Verizon, and it was SIM unlocked. It was
I can't set myself up for this fall, so I have to just.
I know. I understand that, but it's
I mean, Phil's review unit came in retail packaging with a retail ROM, so I think it's fair to assume that whatever is going to be released next week is going to be pretty much the same.
And I did check, and this is final shipping software we have.
Okay.
So
Okay, you're going to be there for me to cry on your shoulder if one day I can't buy one of these and just throw my AT&T SIM card in it, right?
I said 99% sure.
Okay.
Hey, you're getting all the other toys anyways.
People have been asking about developer versions because Verizon's had a few of those lately. I would say Verizon has had a few other developer versions of other devices. Watch the video if you're listening to this. So I don't think we're done hearing about this phone yet. What else? USB host works out of the box. Don't have to root for it, which is nice.
Yeah, same as the One X Plus has
and
that
actually,
as well.
that's going to be a big deal because Jerry and I were also talking about file sizes. So, like, if you're going to rip a Blu-ray and try to watch it on this phone, which is kind of insane if you think about it. Yeah, I mean, you're going to need external storage to do that because you've only got like 11 gigabytes free from the beginning, and I've got it down to 6. I need to see if this movie I rented after it disappears, if I go back to having more than 6.
See, man, I'm telling you, a Nexus 4 with 8 gigs, Jerry and I were having a discussion about this last night. That's not enough.
I would not buy the 8 gigabyte version at all. I mean, that's
what would you do if you had to travel, like, to Europe or something? Or
I would not put 20 gigs of movies on my phone. So
I would.
If I had to travel to Europe and wanted to watch movies, I would have 3 terabytes of laptop movies to watch.
Yeah.
We're different.
It's still not enough. I want to be able to put all my media. I don't have to worry about removing things.
And after watching that movie today, it's like, all right, I've watched it. How do I get it the hell off of here? And maybe I just don't know, and somebody can tell me. But it's like, all right, I need those, 4 gigabytes of storage back, please. I don't want to wait for it. Like, I need to be able to clear it right now.
Well, did you just pin it from the Movies app?
I did. It said download, so I hit download.
Okay.
Which I guess is different.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, we'll have to take a... I'm sure you can figure it out.
Like, I'm looking at it right now, and I see play and download. I wonder if I hit download again, is it going to... Let me see if I've gotten the storage back already. Actually,
oh, that's right. You rented it. I get a pin because I bought the damn thing.
Let's see. No, I'm still at 6.6. So there's 4 gigs of apps. That doesn't sound right. I don't know.
No, it doesn't. That's awful.
I'm gonna look tomorrow and see maybe if it's disappeared after the rental period is over.
Or maybe that movie's in the data folder for the movies and TV app and making it show as 4 gigs of app space used.
Yeah, so I'll find out the next day or so. But I like it. It's a good phone. I think that's it. Emails and voicemails. Yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do voicemails first. We have 4, I believe. Let's start with Steven. Renee!
I'll fake it. Hi, this is Steven for the Android Central podcast.
I'm trying
Phil, you should buy Jerry a Chromebook.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, jeez.
That was made for you to smile, Corey.
Every day, Jerry asks me to buy him a Chromebook. Every single day.
Okay, you're going to say yes, and then I'm going to have to tell you I don't really want a Chromebook. I just want to talk you into it.
Yeah.
I don't see him, Phil. I'm trying to find him.
You don't see him at all?
I don't see him at all.
And give Renee.
Oh, I'm going to give Phil. Damn it. Sorry. Who do you want to start with?
Let's do Steven first.
I'll fix this in post.
Hey guys, my name is Stephen Webb. I'm calling for the Android Central podcast. You can find me on the forums at Sven Edge. I'm calling because I'm just wondering why HTC decided to go with a 2050 milliamp hour battery on the DNA. I mean, I love the device. It looks great. I just don't understand why they would do that. Just seems like I'm probably only going to get like 4 or 5 hours maybe at the max out of this thing. Maybe you guys experienced something different when you were using it in New York. But anyways, maybe you guys could shed some light on that for me. Love the podcast. Listen to it every week. You guys do a great job. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what we talked about. It's, a design thing as much as anything. I mean, it's weird. You can't always blame one design thing on the manufacturer because some things the carrier decides. I don't think the battery is going to be one of those things, but there are other, parts about a phone that can be left up to the manufacturer, even if you disagree with it. And if you, hear, what I'm saying and read between the lines a little bit, I think you might know what I'm talking about. But I don't think the battery is one of those things in this case. I mean, nobody is going to have a smaller battery it's not going to save money.
Well, they put as big a battery as will fit in the thing, I'm sure. Yeah. I don't think they sat at a desk one day at lunchtime and said, you know what? Let's knock 30% of that battery off just for the lulls. They put as much as they could in there.
Honestly,
will it be enough?
I get that people are upset about it, but that's kind of the wrong emotion to have for this sort of thing, I think.
Maybe they'll pull a Motorola and come out with a, 27 milliamp one.
DNA Max.
Yeah, I think everyone's confusing battery performance or battery life with battery capacity. Not every battery is created equal, and just because it's a 2020 milliamp hour doesn't mean it's going to be the same as that. The 2020 milliamp hour if it was in a Galaxy Nexus or something like that. So, Qualcomm chips are known for being efficient. LTE has got better over the past year in terms of battery performance. So I think we just need to wait and see, get a few days of use of this thing because it's really only been around in reviewers' hands for the past few days. Get a week or so of use and see how it goes.
And I really hate seeing these 24-hour reviews that we ran it through battery tests. Well, that's different than actually using it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's testing. That's not reviewing. And
under the battery section, you just have developing.
Right. I mean, there's a place for testing as well as actually using it. But I really try to shy away from that sort of thing. So. And that was Steven again. His phone vibrated right when he left his game. So I texted him today out of the blue. I was like, hey, it's Phil. What's your name? What's your sign? What's your number? What's your major? How about we do Peter now?
Hi, this is Peter. This is for the Android Central podcast. My question is, I have a Nexus 7. It is rooted, running the 4.1.2, and I received a notification for an update. It rebooted me into the updater, and it failed. My question is, will there be any special steps needed to follow for those of us that have unlocked and rooted our Nexus 7s when it comes to the over-the-air update? Let me know what you think. Great show, and thanks for listening.
What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, the minute you root your device, you're pretty much signed off from taking OTAs. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But if it does work, then you're left with an unrooted device, and you have to go back and root it anyway. I would just hit the forums and ask one of the advisors in there, say, hey, where's a good rooted 4.2 ROM for my Nexus 7? And they will certainly point you in the correct direction. You just flash it with your recovery, and off you go.
And the alternative would be if you want to just start again with an unrooted ROM.
Right.
You could just install the factory image for 4.2, but get rid of the -W switch so it doesn't wipe it when you install it.
Bingo.
Yep.
All right, let's do John's first one now.
Hey, Android Central, how's it going? My name is John. I'm from Bethlehem, PA. I am Funk Pod on the forums, and I'd just like to say thank you for your awesome podcast. Couple things. Yes, I'm a teacher, so here is my period ending, and I'm about to keep going. A couple things. Battery life. You spoke last week about how the Razer Max and Razer have don't have great battery life. They just have big batteries. I just like to say that as a user, in the end, it doesn't matter if the battery is like a 4,000 mAh or if it's 1,000 and has excellent battery capacity or battery maximizability. In the end, it doesn't matter. If it fits in the phone, battery life is battery life. If it gets me through a day of use, then that's all that matters. I don't really make the distinction between if it's got an awesome sized battery versus if it's got awesome battery efficiency. Another thing for all those users that don't have a battery user replaceable battery like my Galaxy S3, I suggest that you should get an external charger, like a portable charger that you can put in your pocket or you keep in your school bag. I think that's a very viable option. The last thing I want to say is thank you so much for your podcast. I am a runner. I get up and I run between 4 to 6 miles on weekdays, a couple times a week, and I do a long distance run of at least 6 to 12 miles unless I'm training for the marathons. Your podcast has gotten me through so many miles. I usually have I listen to a pastor speak for about half an hour to 45 minutes. Then your podcast comes on, and I love it when your podcast goes over an hour. It takes up a good chunk of time. You've gotten me through the Philly Marathon, the Bethlehem Hat Trick. It's always a pleasure listening to you guys talk. Thank you for giving me good stuff to listen to as I'm trying to take my mind off the arduous task of running. You guys are great. Keep up the good work. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
So I totally meant to split that up into two voicemails. Or actually, I did split it up. I just forgot to cut out part of it. Anyway, thank you. I feel all warm and fuzzy now. See
nice
Corey
guy.
down there below me? He's warm and fuzzy too. You just can't tell.
And he's right about the battery thing, except when you travel.
Well,
Travel's tough on batteries.
if you have a device with good battery management and a smaller battery, you can have thinner, better screens, better camera. You can fit a lot more in it without thickening up the phone. That's really the only user-facing benefit that would, better battery tech versus bigger battery capacity.
Right. And it's always going to be a balancing act. I mean, it's
Right.
aside from, I say that you have devices like the Maxes and the Galaxy Notes that just have huge ass batteries, right? I mean, and that's again, that's capacity over necessarily management, over efficiency.
Right.
And that's not to say they're not efficient, but when you just have that many cells in one place, the damn thing's going to run forever.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a couple emails and we'll get out of here. Who wants to start?
I'll start. Tony Bag of Donuts writes, I give my mother an old Droid Incredible, and she's hooked on Android and wants to stay with Android. They like the form factor and don't want an overly complicated phone. Would the Droid DNA be a good choice, or stick with the Incredible line of phones? What does everyone think?
What was the last Incredible that came out?
It was the Droid Incredible 4G LTE.
Yeah, it was a while ago. No, I mean, if you can get this, I have a feeling you're going to be just fine on it. Your mom will.
You look at the design, it's basically your Droid Incredible, isn't it, design-wise?
Right. Tony, tell your mom I said hi. What? Peter writes,
Nothing.
Seems like the amount of reliable information on the Miracast subject is seriously lacking. I have searched quite a lot, actually. Will it work with my Galaxy Nexus? Will it work with my Galaxy Nexus, or will it work with my Nexus 10? If not, what kind of propaganda have I been buying into? I don't think it's propaganda. I think it's just early. I think we're having early adopter problems. So, Miracast, as far as we know, it'll work on the Nexus 4, and it'll work on the Optimus G. And I think that's all I can think of offhand. Galaxy Nexus, no. At least in the 4.2 update as it stands right now, there's no option for Miracast. Nexus 7, same. Nexus 10, same.
Right. I went back and double-checked the Android page, and all it says is that Android 4.2 will allow manufacturers to put Miracast into their phone.
So it's got the
Doesn't
hooks,
say,
it's just not necessarily
Yeah, in the same way that it allows NFC, and then not
Right.
every phone that has 4.0 or 4.1 has to have NFC. It's an option, not a requirement.
Right. So, I don't think we'll ever see it on the GNX. I don't think we'll ever see it on a tablet, but not because the manufacturers don't want to put it there, but because the media companies are going to freak out if you can take, media from your tablet and push it to your television. They look how hard it was to get, Netflix and others to just sign on at all for an Android tablet. The Android scares them a little bit too much still, I think. But that's just my guess.
Yeah, and the GNX is going to have the same problem with hardware, though, right? And it's just not going to be able to push.
Yeah, and this kind of gets into another bit of news that broke this week, which is that 4.2 apparently doesn't support the Nexus S or the Zoom. I think that in a lot of these things with 4.2 features, we are pushing up against hardware limits with the Galaxy Nexus in the same way that it's hardware limits with the Zoom and the Nexus S, in that there are some things that it just can't do.
Well, they both have a rear camera that can't use any of the new code for the camera.
Exactly, and I would be heavily skeptical about whether you could actually get the new lock screen stuff running on the Nexus S at an acceptable speed. It's slow enough on the GNX right now.
I'm sure there's a huge list of reasons, but that quickly we thought of two that are potential deal breakers, so it's not surprising.
All right, next one.
I'll get it here. Ben writes, I'm in the military and will be deploying soon, but won't return until around this time next year. Listening to some of the old podcasts, you seem to have a pretty good track record with forecasting what the future holds for us both hardware and software-wise. So my question is this. When I return from deployment, I'll be due an upgrade. What do you think I'll have to look forward to in the October-November 2013 timeframe? New phones.
Yeah, that's a long ways out in the Android world.
I think 1080 is going to become the new 720, for better or worse. I think that's just going to become the standard. Samsung is already working on 1080p Super AMOLED stuff. I think that's just going to become what high-end phones have in the next year or so. I think based on what we've seen on the Nexus 4 so far, that level of smoothness and that kind of polish in Android is going to become standard in all high-end stuff over the next year. So a lot of good stuff to look forward to, I think.
7 inches will be the standard.
I hope not.
Yeah, where's it going to stop? It has to stop at
a year ago. I would never
5.
predicted that phones would be this big. I mean, it's just huge. But you get used to it. You hold it for about an hour, and you're like, I'm like, I can't go any smaller than this again. It's weird to look at a phone any smaller than the S3.
You look at the leading Android phones, leading Windows phones. Windows has stayed at 4.7. The 8X is 4.3, I think. Android is, with the Nexus now is 4.7, which was 4.65 before. It hasn't moved. It's kind of the pace of screen growth, I think, is slowing a little bit. So I don't think we're going to be seeing Galaxy Note-sized 5.3, 5.5 inch screens becoming standard at any point, really. I think eventually it has to just stop somewhere.
A realistic view of what we'll see in October or November of 2013 in the United States is the stuff we see released at Mobile World Congress. So watch CES and MWC, and some of that stuff is what's going to be the big phones in the third quarter for the holiday season. It takes them it used to take them that long to push them out. Maybe they're learning.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be spec hikes. I think with connectivity, LTE is going to get a little bit easier on the battery. Things are going to get thinner and lighter. It's just the continuation of what we've already seen.
Yeah. Okay. Next one.
I'll take this one. Craig writes, I was just wondering, a few months ago it was mentioned that maybe several new Nexus phones made by different manufacturers. Do you think we'll see these other manufacturers making Nexus LTE phones anytime soon? I think we will see a Nexus LTE phone in the next 6 months, but I think it'll be a Nexus 4 variant and not a separate phone by another manufacturer. It's my answer to that. If anyone wants to, yeah.
No.
We kind of talked about this a bit last week, but I think Joe, you've already mentioned Wist was about potential Sprint and AT&T versions of this thing on LTE. I think it's quite likely we'll get an unlocked European LTE version as well. So it'll happen eventually. We'll have a Nexus 4 with LTE. Maybe you'll even be able to buy it through the Play Store. But if it's an LTE Nexus,
so
maybe I said maybe. No, because it might take a while. You know how long the Sprint Galaxy Nexus took to appear.
Right.
So, yeah. But no, certainly you're not going to get an HTC Nexus that's suddenly this different device. This is the Nexus for this year, and the next time we get another Nexus phone by the manufacturer will be this time next year, and it'll be a new generation of software and hardware.
Oh, let's see.
What happened?
Did we lose Phil?
Phil, we can't hear you. Apparently he can't hear us.
Oh, you can't hear me because I hit the mute button.
Oh, well, there you go.
That would do it. Yeah.
It's...
Wonder how long that's been on, actually.
Mute button.
Interesting. Craig writes. No, Craig doesn't write. Julian writes, if anyone can answer this well, it's got to be you. What are the options to temporarily add inexpensive, i.e. not in the cloud, storage to a Nexus 7 or Nexus 10? Mount a USB card reader or flash drive, Wi-Fi direct to a compatible phone. Is Google even allowing us to add storage without rooting? You got to root for those, right? To get
No, you don't.
Nope.
Renee, this is where I need you to put that screenshot up there. Anybody with a device that's running 4.0.4 or higher, there's an app in the market that you can run on your phone. It's called USB Host Diagnostics. It's from the Chainfire guy. Everybody's familiar with him. What it does is it checks to make sure your kernel is in place and that your operating system allows the mount point. If this is from the Nexus 10, it passed all the tests. I can plug a USB thumb drive through an on-the-go cable into it, and as long as I use an application that can read from the external storage, I can watch movies or whatever. I've tried this. It works just fine without being rooted. You can't write to USB storage unless you're rooted. If your device fails this test, that's when you have to be rooted and use something like stick mount or a custom kernel or something along those lines. So there's no clear cut and dry answer. But for your question, the Nexus 7 and the Nexus 10, both of them, yes. There are video players, there are galleries. Just search in the market for stuff that's USB on the go compatible, and it will find it and it works. I'm not 100% sure how. Tor Norenby, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, was talking about it on Google Plus a few months back. And that's how the API works. A developer can use it to read off the card. I would think a developer can use it to make a file manager that reads off the card as well. And you can copy from your external storage. You just can't write to it.
Gotcha. Hey, I have some late-breaking news here.
Ooh.
I have managed to delete the Hunger Games off this phone. So you go into the app settings for the movies and music app, and there's a little manage thing, and then it lets you unpin any movies you've got in there. So I'm back up to almost 1 gigabytes now. So that was about a 4 gigabyte download. That actually went.
So that was definitely 720p. That wasn't 1080p.
Right. But it was still like 4 gigabytes and change.
Right.
Downloaded in about 25 minutes. That's not horrible, I guess. But anyway, that's what that was. So good to know.
Yep.
Do I have something else on there? Let me see. Nope, that's the only thing I have pinned. Google, you can't. Yeah, Google keeps trying to trick me into watching this Transformers movie. I'm not going to do it.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
No, I really don't. All right, boys and girls, that's it.
Wait.
You want to get in touch with us? You can email us at pod.
Wait.
What?
Wait.
We have one.
Corey
more
has a
business
big
before we go
announcement.
tonight. I have to announce the grand prize winner.
Oh,
of our
my
million
God,
member
yes,
giveaway.
Do it.
I've been waiting this whole day to do it. So excited to announce it.
Okay.
Oh, should I? Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I think he's in the chat. Paul C. Wins the grand prize, which is a Samsung Galaxy S3 case, screen protector, and a car charger, and a 16 gigabyte Google Nexus 7. Congratulations.
Woo-hoo.
Awesome.
And for our active member prize pack, Digital Slacker. He wins. What was it? Oh, here we go. Lloyd T-shirt, Samsung Chromebook, $100 shop Android coupon code, $50 Play gift card. And I already said the T-shirt, right? So congratulations, Digital Slacker.
Awesome.
The rest of you, I will post all the names in the thread. There's a lot of good prizes in there.
If you didn't win that one, look in that contest thread because we have so many contests going on right now. We got the huge Mobile Nations Passport contest that's still going on. We're giving away an HTC One X Plus. I could swear that, there's a Sonos contest going on right now as well for the photo contest this week. Really, really good stuff. So it's all there in the forums. And if you're not in the forums talking about the Nexus 10 or the Nexus 4 or the Droid DNA or yelling at me or, wait, no, that's the mod forums. I'm kidding. Nobody yells at me in there that I know of. You guys have secret mod forums where you talk bad about me, don't you?
We do. Yeah.
We do. Yes, actually we do, but that's a
there's so much good stuff going on in the forums right now. I just don't even know where to begin. It's awesome. So go there. And with that, you can get us all. No. With that, you do what? I can be sure to email us at podcast@androidcentral.com. You can get us all on Twitter, Android Central, Phil Nicholson, GBHIL, C Streeter, Alex Doby. But Google Plus is better, I think. Find us on Google Plus, type in our names. We are brought to you by shopandroid.com, as we are every week. You can call them at 888-468-6158 if you prefer to talk to actual live people. Weirdos. Who wants to do that? Or go to shopandroid.com. But no, we got a lot of good people there helping out as well. And you can leave us a voicemail at that same number, 888-468-6158, extension 222. Or you can do like John did and record it and email it in, which sounds awesome, by the way. So
yes, it does.
That's it. Jerry, Alex, Corey, thank you. Mickey, hopefully we'll be back soon. I'm sorry we didn't get him on late in the show tonight. But can't wait to get him back. And that's it. We're out. We're done. See ya.
Nobody say goodbye.
Oh, God, I hate you all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye. Good week.